Well, good morning. I'm Brent Adams here with your Rural Strong Morning Ag Report for this Monday, January 8th. Leading off the headlines this morning, the National Agricultural Law Center, based in Arkansas, called 2023 a year for significant developments and changes on the legal front. Harrison Pittman, director of the Ag Law Center, says there are a lot of issues they'll be keeping a close eye on in 2024.
I think the Endangered Species Act, and particularly its relationship to pesticide registration and re-registration and how that looks going forward, I think that's one that we're going to spend a tremendous amount of time on in 2024. It was a big deal in 2023, but that is a major shift in that part of the ag industry, and I think it's one that's going to continue in a big way in 2024. I would keep a close eye on the litigation side with respect to pesticides. There's still quite a few cases going on. They're not all being decided the same way, but there have been a few over the last couple of years, and at least one recently, where the verdict has been very financially significant, at least before appeals take place.
The waters of the U.S., or WOTUS, will still be something to watch in the new year.
I would keep a good eye on that one. That whole issue is important, but the traditional part of it, like the EPA and Corps of Engineers jurisdiction of what is the waters of the United States, that will remain important. The part that I would watch is what is happening in the wake of the U.S. Supreme Court decision in the Sackett case that came out in spring of just last year, because I think that can trigger activity in state proposals that cut both ways.
The aftermath of the Supreme Court's decision on California's Proposition 12 will be another legal issue in 2024.
The third one that would be really important to watch is the fallout in the wake of the Supreme Court's decision on Proposition 12, which is the California animal welfare law that basically opened the door up to the degree to which states might be able to regulate what would otherwise often be considered commerce that would otherwise be left to the U.S. Congress to regulate. So I think that could spawn a lot of legislative proposals, both agriculture related and non-agriculture related, and probably will. And since we're coming into sessions around the country now that we're getting into January, I'd expect that to pick up.
Foreign land ownership will be something else to watch in the new year.
We're going to see several states advance bills again this year because there's been numerous federal proposals, but they really haven't had a good vehicle yet legislatively to get enacted. I would expect something at the federal level to be enacted as potentially part of the Farm Bill process. That could happen there, or parts of these federal proposals could find their way into an appropriations deal. Should we be able to get one, hopefully without a government shutdown.
Again, that was Harrison Pittman, director of the National Agricultural Law Center. Well, 2023 was a roller coaster year for many in agriculture, especially those in the dairy industry, and with the new year brings new expectations. Zach Bowers with Ever Ag reflects on the up and down nature of 2023 for dairy producers.
2023 was a real roller coaster of highs and lows, right? Looking back on it, I never in a million years would have guessed we would have seen the $14 Class 3 that we did in that June-July period, and then to follow it up with $19 just a couple months later, and then right back down at where we're at. You're looking at, 15, 30-ish Class 3 at the moment for January.
Dairy demand will play a big role in 2024 prices, but Bowers says the supply will dictate the direction of the markets too.
Supply side continues to do its thing here. We're seeing cow numbers drop. We're seeing that milk production report continue to run lower, not only here, but actually globally as well. Europe trending lower at the same time as they're affected by, poor margins and environmental regulations similar to us here in the U.S., but actually a little bit more extreme. Looking into 2024, supply side probably continues to stay tight, and eventually that will catch up to us, and I think will allow for better milk prices. The time being, though, the next 3 to 6 months, hard to get really excited about this market, right?
Bowers admits it's hard to get excited about 2024 prices when you look deeper into the cheese production side of the industry.
The last couple of years, all we've done is add more cheese production. These new billion-dollar cheese plants, to run efficiently, have to always run full. So even with milk production tightening, that usually just ends up shorting the Class 4 butter powder plants. That continues to hold the $19+ milk price into 2024, and I think can probably continue to be the shining star for the next year or so as tight milk production causes lower production of those Class 4 products. However, the cheese plants are going to continue to make their fill, and that means we need to rely on the export market. We just don't have enough demand here domestically to consume all that.
The U.S. has not competed well price-wise on the world market, but entering 2024, that has changed, and the United States has the most attractive price for world buyers.
Right now, we're the cheapest in the world on the cheese front at a 145-ish spot price, whereas New Zealand closer to 190. Europe's also in that 180 to 190 price as well too. So we should be the first stop for exports. The question is if and when that happens, right? I mean, we continue to see Chinese economy downturn, continue to see their participation on the New Zealand GDT auction. This last auction this Tuesday was actually their participation was down 53% year over year. Eventually, they will have to come step back into the market. Doesn't look like it's right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon, right? We're going to continue to have to weather this poor export market for a little bit longer.
Cow numbers continue to lessen, and Bowers says another source of revenue for dairy farmers can be found in the dairy heifer market, as replacements for the milking herd will be hard to find moving forward due to increased beef on dairy breeding over recent years.
If you own extra replacements, you're in a very good position right now to make decent profit on those, and I think that those prices will probably continue to remain pretty elevated into the new year, right? As one of the shining stars of the agriculture industry this past year has been the beef prices, right? I mean, we just haven't had the beef cattle in the pipeline to keep up with demand. We saw that in the cold storage report last week with, one of the lowest beef numbers in cold storage in, I think, 3 or 4 years. With that, we've seen a lot of beef on dairy, right? And you're seeing that in the day-old bull calves, right? I mean, they were anywhere from $500 to $600. I know they've come off maybe a little bit here in the last couple of weeks, but still a lot of guys getting $400+ for a day-old. You're going to keep breeding in that, right? Which is only going to continue to keep that heifer pipeline pretty tight going into the new year.
Again, that was Zach Bowers with Ever Ag. You can learn more at www.ever.ag. A special thank you to Joe Gill of Chasm Radio in Albany, Minnesota for that audio. Well, how does an extension of the current farm bill affect the wish lists of various commodity groups and ag organizations for a new one? Here with the details is USDA Radio's Rod Bain.
Does an extension of the existing farm bill impact the wish list created by various commodity groups and ag organizations for a new one being considered by Congress this year? One point of view is provided by Joby Young, American Farm Bureau Federation Executive Vice President.
A lot of work's been done, a lot of input and stakeholder feedback gathering has gone on over the last 18 months.
Or in some cases, 2 years to even the full 5-year length of the current farm bill. Because of that, Andy Levine of the American Seed Trade Association believes,
I'd say the cake mix is made. It may not have been completely baked, but you're not going to be introducing a lot of new things in there that already haven't been debated, already discussed, maybe a marker bill somewhere out there that may pull in. But I think for the most part, the ideas have been vetted, and we've got the cake batter together, and we just need to figure out what pan we're going to cook it in.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
And what are the prospects for the South American soybean crop? We'll soon get a new forecast from the USDA. Here with more is USDA Radio's Gary Crawford.
For farmers in Brazil and Argentina who have been trying to get their soybeans planted and off to a good start,
it's certainly been a unique and challenging year in South America so far.
USDA Outlook Board Chairman Mark Czekanowski says up until a couple of weeks ago, farmers in some areas of Brazil were being hit with record high temperatures, very low rainfall amounts, causing worries about the soybean crop and boosting U.S. soybean prices. However,
they've been getting a little bit more reliable rainfalls in the Brazil center-west area. Conditions seem to be improving.
That has sent U.S. bean prices lower again, but Mark says the earlier severe hot, dry conditions may have already lowered soybean yield prospects, but there's no way to know for sure. So USDA is tracking conditions daily and
using that to develop our own internal assessments of what that might mean for the size of those crops.
USDA will make those forecasts public this Friday, January 12th. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
And finally this morning, 1/4 of America's bird flu losses during outbreaks beginning in early 2022 were recorded during the final quarter of 2023. USDA data says that's when the disease staged a resurgence. Approximately 20.9 million birds were culled in infected domestic flocks from October through December to prevent the spread of highly pathogenic avian influenza. Successful Farming says bird flu hit egg farmers so hard that prices in 2022 soared 32% above the average in 2021. That's the largest increase for any food categories USDA tracked during the year of high food inflation. As the flocks got rebuilt, egg prices rose marginally in 2023 and are expected to fall 12% this year. A total of 79.7 million domestic birds, mostly egg-laying hens and turkeys raised for human consumption, died in highly pathogenic avian influenza outbreaks or eradication efforts since February 2022. Since then, the disease has been confirmed in 1,059 flocks in 47 states. Well, you can keep up with the latest in the world of agriculture by subscribing to the Tractors and Troubadours podcast from Rural Strong Media. Each week, I bring you agriculture industry newsmakers, hot-button industry issues, educational features, and the best in traditional country music. The Tractors and Troubadours podcast can be found at ruralstrongmedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Episode 113 is out now, and it features a discussion with U.S. Meat Export Federation Chairman Randy Spronk about the job of marketing U.S. red meat abroad in 2023. We also talk at-plant chemicals with FMC's Matthew Pye and rural mental health resources with Julie Lux of Rural Minds. You'll also hear music from one of the nation's premier Hank Williams tribute artist, Wyatt Aleman. Again, that's all on episode 113 of Tractors and Troubadours, available now at ruralstrongmedia.com or wherever you get your podcasts. We also invite you to join us daily on Rural Strong Radio, our 24/7 streaming radio station, found at ruralstrongmedia.com or on the Live 365 streaming radio app for your mobile device. Each day, we bring you our award-winning agriculture programming, as well as the best in traditional country music, mixed in with a little bluegrass, western swing, southern rock, and inspirational music. Again, the place to find Rural Strong Radio is ruralstrongmedia.com or the Live 365 streaming radio app. Hey, we're portable, so take us with you everywhere you go while you're working on the farm or ranch. We'll get through the workday together. Well, I'll be back again tomorrow with another Rural Strong Morning Ag Report here on Steve Shetler Media. Make it a great day, everybody.